Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex, then landed at episode number 284. I call this one Unrecord. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
That's not what I told you.
No.
I actually like it better. I'm Glenn.
It's called Unrecord because it has nothing to do with the show. Just like Unregenerate had nothing to do with this audio. I took your idea and
I tweaked it.
I added Miracle Grow and just let it blossom.
Unrecord. Oh,
There's your episode
that's
title.
That's the title right there.
That's frequently the way Glenn's ideas work. They just need a little gardening.
Isn't Unrecord what we call it when Sean tries to record things like Simon Fisher's
Oh. It is now.
Oh, all right.
I didn't just not record it.
Wow,
I
that was
unrecorded it.
Sorry, that was mean. I keep picking on you. I'm sorry.
You have picked on me an awful lot already. The show hasn't even really started yet, and you've picked on me a lot.
I will resolve this episode to pick on you less frequently throughout this episode.
Great. That means he's going to pick on me.
Woohoo! A day off!
Oh, did you guys have a good week?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I come to this show every week and go, yeah, no, I'm well. No, it was great. It was a great week. I don't remember anything I did. Friday I went to Hutchinson. The bad news of it is we lost my uncle actually a week ago. I didn't mention on the show, but a week ago Friday he passed away. He had cancer, and we kind of knew it was coming, so it was kind of a softened blow, but. And they scheduled his funeral for Friday, so I wanted to take my mom down to the funeral, so I took the day off Friday. But on the way, the blessing of that was I had some time to listen to some audios. The 10th Doctor stories, the Big Finish Audio 10th Doctor Adventures, Volume 1. I got through all 3 of those. Actually, I think I'd listened to one of those earlier in the week. And I'm not going to go into them now because we'll obviously do a review of those when Sean gets them on the schedule soon, hopefully. Hopefully, because Keith is listening to them too.
Yeah.
No, you're going to have to wait.
However, shameless plug, I did launch my new blog site.
Again?
Yeah, well, I actually went ahead and I got they had a really great discount on site blog, and so I bit the bullet and I paid for a blog and a domain name. So now I'm trapped in the vortex.com. As opposed to the old address, which was trapped in the vortex.blogspot, or no, .wordpress.com. So it's now, I have my own domain. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to migrate all the old stuff back over, because Siteblog's really primitive. That was the problem with taking the cheap route, is the site is real primitive, and there's been a massive learning curve for me. That's why it took a little while for me to get it launched. But trapped in the vortex.wordpress.com still exists with the old stuff, the archive stuff. But I do have
for now
5 new posts on there. The 3 really new ones are I did an individual post for each of the stories after I listened to them to review those. So if you want to know some preliminary thoughts, they are spoiler free for the most part. You can go over there and check that out. Again, it's trappedinthevortex.com.
Have we built in a link from our website to your blog?
I haven't done that yet. No.
We should probably do that because it's ancillary.
I guess it is ancillary. Somewhat.
You have our Facebook page on your.
Yeah, I am linking back to travelingthevortex.com. So I've got our Facebook page on there. I think one of the links. Oh, there's a link in my bio to.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing to us, but I haven't done any back selling. So to me, so that was pretty much it. Holly and I watched. We watched Skyfall last weekend because we were going to watch. Well, I've seen Skyfall, but she hadn't. So we watched it last weekend because we were going to watch Spectre this weekend, and it got so late last night. Spectre's 2.5 hours that we decided don't know if we want to be up that late. However, Deadpool is only an hour 49. So I said, "Well, you want to watch Deadpool?" And she did, and she actually said it was a pretty good movie. She thought the violence was way over the top. She kind of landed on it where I did. It was just too much. This is way too much violence, and it was very unnecessary, in her opinion. I think it's somewhat unnecessary as well, but she did enjoy it. She appreciated the kind of the love story that's encapsulated in all of the violence and comedy. She thought it was funny, and she's a huge fan of Ryan Reynolds, so that was already a sell going into it, despite the fact that he's only, not scarred for about 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
I watched Blade Trinity this week.
Had you never seen that
I had never seen that.
Oh, really? This is your first viewing?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I got to watch Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Before he was Deadpool.
Before he was Deadpool.
This is the audition tape for Deadpool.
Pretty much.
I liked Trinity.
Yeah, it's...
Dominic Purcell as Dracula, hamming it up, is quite enjoyable. It's full of cheese.
It's very full of cheese. I still think the second one's my favorite of the
I need to go back and
Blade
revisit
movies,
it since I've watched The Strain, because The Strain is very much the same line of vampires that is in Blade 2. So.
Yeah. We also watched a couple episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We watched Simmons on the Planet.
S.H.I.E.L.D. version of The Martian.
It's the S.H.I.E.L.D. version of The Martian. And it was cool. I gotta say that the clips that we get of her before that episode, where it's just kind of her freaking out, something chasing her on the planet, scary.
Yeah.
The episode in and of itself was not that level of heightened tension.
No.
It was emotionally draining. I can see why, that really sucked for her.
And a tour of force for the actress.
Yeah.
We caught up on Gotham. We're finally done with season 2. Not sure if we're going to go on to season 3. We went and saw X-Men Apocalypse, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why it was.
You sound surprised.
Well, it's getting negative reviews. It's like a 38 on Rotten Tomatoes. This is
really?
the second worst X-Men film reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. The other thing I did this week was started watching Houdini and Doyle.
Ooh, how was that?
It's enjoyable. Surprisingly enjoyable. For those that don't know, Houdini and Doyle is an ITV Fox collaboration, because, that's going to go well, where Harry Houdini and Arthur Conan Doyle investigate supernatural deaths. Where it's kind of... I saw a great headline that Houdini and Doyle is X-Files set in 1900. And it really is. Houdini's the skeptic and Doyle is the believer.
That's actually true to fact.
Yeah.
They were at one time good friends. They had a falling apart later, but they at one time were good friends, and that was how their relationship was. Houdini was a skeptic, even though he was an illusionist and an occultist performer. He was always looking for. Oh, he's like the great. What's Randy? Not the great Randy, but the guy now that does the same thing. He was very much in looking for. Exposing mediums and psychics and things like that.
The occult debunker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Doyle was a believer.
Houdini has his own motivations that are self-evident, but Doyle's why he wants to believe so badly is such a compelling story that it works so well. And it helps that it's Stephen Mangan.
Should we move on to news?
Let's go to news, Sean. What's in the news?
The only thing that I thought, I don't know if anybody had mentioned this or not, but apparently at whatever the con was this weekend, the big one that...
MegaCon?
One that Capaldi was at, he mentioned that Series 10... Missy Gomez was there. He mentioned that Series 10 starts shooting in 2 weeks. So everybody kind of treated that as an official, oh my God, we've got an official start date. And I was kind of like, we knew it was coming. But so now you know, 2 weeks, going in with what Glenn was saying about we're so plugged in that we've got to know everything about everything. Now you know. 2 weeks.
Have they shot the Christmas special yet?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, is that?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's so far away from airing that I'm not going to get excited.
As with all things Who, I don't know, are we counting the Christmas special as part of Series 10?
It's so confusing at this point.
So
I don't think it is, since we've had a Christmas special already for Series 9. I think this will be a bookend year for...
Yeah.
I think this will be Series 10, 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 13. Yeah. So there'll actually be 14 episodes next year. Or are they doing one less during the season because they're doing 2?
I don't think they're doing one less.
No, they're not doing one less.
Because that was a big news item, as we're getting 14 episodes of Who.
So I think we probably end up counting Christmas as season 10-0, as they've done, I think, with...
most of the Christmas ones.
No.
Well,
that's how I've always counted.
That's how we have said that.
Well, the
but
box sets...
If you look at them, anyone that has it at the end is part of that previous series, but if the box set has it at the beginning, I think Christmas Carol,
Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe are that way.
Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe? Yeah. For some reason that sounded wrong, and then I was like, no, you're right. Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe.
Snowman is the exception, as well as Time of the Doctor.
And that's in the middle of the season.
And the not surprising news that Michelle Gomez says she's coming back to the show.
Yeah, that's...
I kind of assumed...
That's another thing that irritated me is when that dropped, so many people were like, oh, God, we're going to see Missy again. We've seen her in 4 episodes, people. That's it. She's been in 4 stories.
Yeah.
So, if you don't count the little end parts that she was always in Series 8, she was at the very end of her series.
If you don't count the...
Yeah, Series 8.
The heaven
Yeah,
parts.
if you don't count the little heaven parts at those points. She's only been in 4 full episodes. And not even... Which wasn't even much in the first episode of the 2-part finale. So, it's irritating me that people are already going, oh, it's too much Master, Missy, Mistress, whatever. I'm done. I gotta go there. Positive show. Good vibes. Not picking on Sean. Not going onto tirades. Love and unicorns.
You want your soapbox?
Love and unicorns. No, just keep it over there.
But not everybody, though, has gone, oh, wow, we're getting another Dalek episode this season. Woo! Said no one ever. Except Glenn.
Wait, we're getting another Dalek episode this season?
I can virtually guarantee it.
Yes!
At the very least, a Dalek will show up somewhere.
Daleks. You know what's never been done? They've never been to Manhattan. Oh wait, no, they have. You know what we've never done though?
Manhattan,
We've
Kansas.
never actually gone inside a Dalek. Oh wait, no, we have.
You know what has never happened? The Daleks have never won.
It's true.
That is true.
Let's do something daring. Let's let them win one.
Victory of the Daleks. We could name it Victory. Oh no, wait, we can't do that either.
To some extent, they won there. They achieved what they wanted.
They ran away.
Well, but they still got what they wanted.
Ran away never to see the Skittles again.
If you have a small enough scope, it's a win.
Let's go to the Doctor Who experience. And then I think that's not even there. That part of it's not even there. That little interactive thing.
I think it's all...
kind of did away with it.
Yeah. I think it's now all Capaldi, mostly Capaldi stuff.
Yeah, I believe it is.
It's got to be a way to redeem them. Somebody here you go. If you guys want a Dalek episode, I challenge you to write a Dalek episode that redeems the Skittle Daleks and creates a vital and useful and cool functionality for them within the Dalek hierarchy that everybody goes, oh,
better
cool.
yet.
That would be all right with that.
Better yet, we could make a contest out of this, and everybody could write in with their ideas of a plot summary. And then what we'll do is we'll choose the best one, and we'll hand it off to Sean, and he will write the episode.
Okay. I'll take that.
Oh,
challenge.
yeah. I thought for sure he was going to go, no, don't do that. No. Really?
He's gonna go for it.
I will pick up that gauntlet.
All right.
Why
so
not?
everybody write in with their Dalek episode summaries.
I'm not going to say it's a good episode, but I'll write it.
and Sean will take your summary. You'll get creative credit for it, and Sean will write it, and it'll be a co-production.
Sure.
Story by,
we'll go from there.
screenplay by.
There you go.
We're not joking.
And then we'll submit it to the BBC.
I'm not.
And Sean's completely taking it. He's taking the gauntlet and running with it. Let's do it.
I picked up the Infinity Gauntlet and ran. Did you hear about the loot crate thing?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
I know there's an oven glove in there.
The Infinity
There's a recall
Gauntlet
on the
oven glove. And apparently, according to Loot Crate, there were isolated incidents that the glove was apparently not manufactured to high enough standards to prevent you from getting burned. So the Infinity Gauntlet can be defeated by pizza rolls. That is.
There are pictures of it like melted away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's hardcore. So,
Brittany,
stop using it, Brittany.
use of your gauntlet oven mitt right now.
Loot Crate had a great, please stop using it. We're developing means of having them returned and disposed of. We don't want you to burn yourself.
No one will return theirs if they haven't already destroyed it.
Oh, yeah.
No one will. Now it's going to become one of those items of, hey, I've got that oven glove.
It'll just sit on a shelf in a plexiglass case somewhere.
I don't think I'd use mine anyway. I don't think I would use mine anyway. I think this is too clever.
I use my Arby's one. Nobody remembers the little Arby's character. Mel's got an Arby's one that I love it because he makes me laugh because he's got a little happy face on him. It's like, burn! And stick him on the thing.
I used to have one of those little hamburger helper gloves. It was all rubber. And I set it on the stove because I thought it'd be cool to have him there helping me. And it melted.
Was it supposed to work as an oven glove, or was it
No,
just a prop?
it was just a prop.
Oh, okay.
I thought, hey, how cool is it to be reliving the commercials? Where he's sitting there giving advice and talking as the woman sitting there cooking the
in normal kitchens, he's over on the counter. In Glenn's kitchen, he's going, help me!
He was a little too close to the oven, and he melted. So.
Okay, so new creative contest. Write us a synopsis for how to make the Skittledolics cool for an episode, and send it in, and we'll read through them and pick them. We want to set a time limit on this?
Oh, let's give them a couple of months.
Yeah.
Let's give them a couple of months.
Collect them as you send them.
Yeah.
We'll let you know when the final deadline is, but that gives you some time to think about it, because you don't need to have that done by next week or anything.
No.
Speaking of deadlines... Do we have a winner of our...
we have a winner!
Oh, our Patreon lottery, or raffle, rather. I keep calling it a lottery. I guess it technically is a lottery.
Ding, 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 ding,
ding.
Patreon
A lottery raffle.
Raffle. We do have a winner, right?
We do. It is Mitch.
Yay! Congratulations, Mitch. And interestingly enough, I'll let everybody know this. Monday, as I sit down to edit our episode, we got this information. And we are just about to put an episode out that says, well, we don't have a number yet. We don't have a winner yet. So I did send Mitch a quick email saying, hey, don't worry if you hear the episode come out this week. Don't despair. We know you are the winner. We just had to put this out as is because we'd already recorded. So congratulations to her. She did send us a picture of the winning lottery ticket, and we've looked at it and verified that
all six numbers on the raffle ticket.
She matched all 6 numbers of the raffle ticket, including the color and background of the ticket.
Which, Kirk, I'm sorry you lost on that one.
We can verify that. However, although he never claimed to have won.
He didn't claim he won. He said he lost.
Kirk actually sent us a picture of his lottery ticket, or his raffle ticket. And Kirk, the bad news is we have no idea where that ticket came from.
Because it's not from us.
It's not from us. Kirk, you may have won something somewhere, but it wasn't from here.
In fact, Kirk's has 7 numbers.
Well, the ticket's completely
the wrong color. It's the wrong amount of numbers.
It says Bartle Hall Parking Garage on the side of it. I don't get it.
As Sean said ahead of the show, it's a good thing that he was disqualified anyway, because it was just wrong altogether. Sorry, Kirk, we had to pick on you a little bit, but we just got to... It wasn't until Keith sat down here, we were looking through feedback, and he goes...
I looked at the picture.
How come Kirk's lottery ticket's different than Mitch?
I don't know. Maybe we ran out of one kind.
Looked at
there was another kind.
Wait a minute. That's not the right ticket. So, Kirk, you'll probably need to keep digging because we want everybody to hold on to those raffle tickets because there will be future drawings. Mitch, unfortunately, now that you've won, you're set aside. But everybody else that still has a ticket, there will be another lottery. Another lottery? Why do I keep calling it a lottery? There will be another raffle drawing in the near future and another wonderful prize. And we are still working on your prize, Mitch, so we will announce what that'll be next week on the show next week.
Or we'll just ship it to you, and you can let us know
when you get it. Let us know when you get it and go, hey, I didn't even know I was getting this.
Yeah. That way it's a surprise for you.
I think when we send it out, we'll let people know what it was.
We didn't either.
Well, the prize vault has, gotten so big, and there's so much
Got
stuff in there that we're going to dig around.
It's like a Legend of Zelda chest.
In my head.
Wait, she won her Legends of Zelda?
No,
chest?
that's what the vault's like.
I see.
Zelda chest.
In my head, when Keith goes home to pull something out of the prize vault, there's this big door that has to, and hinges open, and then he walks out Scrooge McDuck style and dives into the riches of the prize vault.
I don't have a basement now. That's what it is.
That's the prize.
I've converted my basement to be just like that.
He goes swimming through sonic screwdrivers and pop figures.
I've got to go through the prize vault to do laundry every time.
Somewhere there's a lamp. With carpets. And
10,000 years. Give you such a crick in the neck. All right.
That's why I've never been invited over to the prize vault. I'm less than worthy. I am not a diamond in the rough.
Sean shows up in his swim trunks, ready to dive in. All right.
You more have to wade in because haven't got this diving board built in yet. I haven't figured out how to do that. Got to get Cody's spare room to have a retractable floor so we can
bang my head on the stalactites.
Shall we continue digging through the mailbag and see if we got any feedback this week?
We do have some feedback.
All right.
Holly sent us some feedback. She said, "Hey guys, long time no write. Have been keeping up with the podcast. Bit of housekeeping for the book of June. The book for June for the Traveling the Vortex Doctor Who book club on Goodreads. It is Royal Pains. I think Holly is coloring her review of the episode of the book because it's called The Royal Blood." or it's untapped feelings about moderating the book club. I'm not sure.
Or maybe it's a subliminal message about us.
That could be also.
The Traveling the Vortex book club book is Royal Pains. I mean, blood. Not you guys.
Royal Blood.
All right, so
I totally read the wrong book for June.
Royal Blood will be Royal Pain. That was the American knockoff version of Faulty Towers, wasn't it? I think it was. Who was the guy that played Dan Fielding on Night Court?
John Larroquette.
John Larroquette played a version of I can't remember. I think their last name was Royal. And they had a hotel, and I think it was like the Royal Arms or something like that. But it was basically a recreation for American television of Faulty Towers. So it was called Royal Pain.
Huh.
The cover of the book is in fact Doctor Who Royal Blood by Una McCormick.
There's a USA show called Royal Pains. Maybe that's why she thought of it. It's run for like 8 seasons.
Oh wow!
So that's June for this month.
That's June's book club book.
June's book club book for this month.
She says, "I will have the pull up for July around mid-June." On to the review. Unregenerate was an interesting audio. Having the 7th Doctor being held captive and not himself was interesting to say the least. Cool to see Mel use her computer programming knowledge in this audio. Not sure if she has before. Plus, Seven's hologram message to Mel was so him. Overall, a decent audio. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this audio. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly. And thank you for handling our book club for us.
Hopefully it's not a Royal Pain.
Yeah. Of course, if you want to send us feedback, send it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com or head over to our website, travelingthevortex.com, and fill out the feedback tab. You can also reach out to us on our various forms of social media, Twitter @TravelVortex, Facebook Traveling the Vortex, Instagram Traveling the Vortex. Any good social media site, we are likely on there.
And of course you can use those feedback.
And some of the bad ones too.
Like Google Plus.
You said it, not me.
You can use those feedback links if you want to send your story to us as well.
Yes.
I wouldn't send that through Twitter.
It's definitely send that in an email. That way we can keep
you can do a
track of it.
summary?
In
A really good
140
summary in
characters.
140 characters?
That's a good summary.
Good job. Challenge number 2. No.
In 140 characters or less.
Die Hard on an airplane.
What do you think, guys? Should we move on to a review?
You know, I know that I've read her email, and I know that she says that is so him. in his Seven's hologram message to Mel was so him. I know that's the wording. I heard you read it as that was so pimp. I had to stop and go, what?
So him.
I mean, I guess it was, but okay.
Why not?
Even though I know what the word is. I'm sitting here looking at it. Nope, pimp.
That's one thing I never called the Seventh Doctor. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it now.
Not even with the hat and the
Maybe
sweater.
with the fur coat when you had it on.
All right, should we move on to our review?
Unregenerates! In a rundown asylum, screams echo in the halls as the mysterious creatures roam, terrorizing the staff. Patients complain of betrayal rather than illness, and no one is quite what they seem. Mel knows the doctor is the best person to find the answers, but she is stranded on Earth, and the TARDIS has returned without him. Why does a medical facility need to be under armed guard? What procedures are the staff carrying out, and to what purpose? What is the price that must be paid for making an agreement with those who run the asylum? As the answers begin to be uncovered, the doctor finds that the past may yet come back to haunt him.
I'm not sure what I want to give that one. Da-na-na.
I heard some crickets.
Well, no, it wasn't cricket worthy. Oh, Glenn thought it was cricket worthy.
Wasn't bad. My biggest complaint with this story is not the story. It's the title. I was expecting a lot more from this, just based on the title they gave it, and then I don't understand why it's called Unregenerate. Can somebody give me a valid reason why you would use the term Unregenerate for the title of your story? I know that it comes on the heels of Time in the Ronnie. To make sure I got it right. Time in the Ronnie, which is the 6th Doctor, 7th Doctor regeneration episode. However, nothing about this story has anything to do with him unregenerating, and so I can't come down on why they would have called it that.
Unregenerate! Exclamation point.
That being said, I
can give you where the title came from, but not why they used it. The title is taken from a 6th Doctor line in part 1 of the Twin Dilemma. But why they used it for this story, I still can't explain. My stance on the story has actually changed since Friday Night Who. I went into this and listened to it and thought, this does not feel like a 7th Doctor and Mel story. It does not feel like that 7th Doctor. It feels like a 7th Doctor that should be with Ace. Until I rewatched Time in the Ronnie. And what I remembered predominantly from Time in the Ronnie was the comedic, slapstick, clownish aspect of him. But this time I saw him railing against whatever this thing is that the Ronnie's doing, and him being indignant about the whole thing, and especially before he gets the amnesia that she gives him, it's very in line with what we get in this story, once we get the Doctor in this story. And then once he gets over the amnesia, he kind of returns to that in Time in the Ronnie also.
I think what was also missing from this would have been, if I were writing the story, would have been, I think I would have used more of the mixed metaphors. I mean, it is something that was dropped quickly after Time in the Ronnie in the television series. But I think it would have been kind of nice knowing that it was just on the heels of that story.
Oh, yeah.
That there were a few mixed metaphors. And the reason why I think I would have done this that way is because we've listened to, I can't remember if it was Flip Flop or if it was Bang Bang Boom.
I think it's Bang Bang Boom.
Where he does use some mixed metaphors.
Yeah.
And that one is supposed to be near the regeneration as well, because that's with Mel. And so there's it just kind of breeds a bit of an inconsistency for me, which is fine. It's not a deal breaker for me, but
and when we do have the mixed metaphors, they don't have any impact, or you almost don't catch them because everything else coming out of his mouth is nonsense. So we do have some, but it's when he's in that nonsensical stage where nothing he's saying makes sense.
See,
so it doesn't count.
I just chalked it up to the nonsense. I never heard a actual mixed metaphor.
I remember hearing a couple in there, and
maybe that's why I didn't notice him, because it was in that state of
and it's
confusion.
So and even though they're in there, the phrases may be there, but it doesn't count as a mixed metaphor because he is in such a state of confusion. He's just saying random words almost, or at least random phrases that don't have any a logic to them at all.
When this story starts, it really kind of feels like Minuet in Hell.
Maybe that's part of why I didn't like it as much
in
too.
his own mind, essentially. And I really got that Minuet in Hell vibe, and it almost to the point where I thought, I didn't come down hard on Minuet in Hell. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Keith's the one that didn't like it, but I had that. Oh gosh, I feel like we're doing this again. But it quickly got away from that, and so I think that worked out for me.
It needed to get away from it a little quicker for me. I could have used having the doctor back sooner, and Mel in the facility sooner. Because it was almost 2 full episodes before she got actually in to the facility.
They were outside the facility for a while.
It took way too long. They should have been inside and with the doctor. He could be still not making sense in one episode.
Well, and the interesting thing about that is when they quasi-rescue him or find him, catch up to him, and he starts to get away, he does start to... That's when he start to trend back to his normal self. And so...
And Chakra's a great addition to the group, and I liked his character.
Yeah. Cab driver.
I
like the cab
driver. Yeah.
There's a lot. There were pretty good characters in there. I thought the one Time Lord lady was kind of... I can't remember her name. But she was kind of... Well, is that the older one?
Yeah, the professor.
No, I'm talking about the other one. The
Regan.
Regan. She was a bit militant for me, but especially for being a Time Lord. Although, when they finally dropped the line that she's CIA, it kind of made sense, and I was able to accept more of what I had heard from her based on that. But I still thought she was a little too...
It's one of those things that there's some great nuggets to the story. I really liked... I was with you initially that I thought, oh man, he's going to be a babbling, broken doctor through most of this, and it'll be up to Mel to save him. But we didn't really go that path with it, and we did it in such a way that it was different from the times that we've heard this kind of story before. So I thought that was cool.
Was another one where we had the Doctor too.
And then the fact that, of course, being a Seventh Doctor story, he's faking, or at least it's alluded to that he was faking. Maybe he actually did get scrambled a little bit, but it's alluded to the fact that he's pulling one over on everybody. Which I thought was kind of cool.
But he is and he isn't, because he does admit that this was a ploy, and he went into it. It was derived by him as a plot for him to get in. He does allude to the fact that because he did have to struggle so hard to fight back,
because he did have the thing in him.
Yeah. That I kind of took it to, while what's her name? You just told me her name. Regan. While Regan is trying to convince the professor that he is faking. You find out that he genuinely did have a lot of confusion, and he was broken to a point, because he does make the comment that he had to struggle to fight back,
and that was him struggling to fight
exactly
back.
And so
he was probably more lucid than the other people.
I was kind of grateful that while I did the same thing, I thought, well, he's faking. He's obviously in there as a ruse, but also she was so adamant that. Convinced that he was faking, that I kind of thought, well, maybe he's not, because she suspects it, because a lot of times you don't set something like that. So I was grateful to get the comment later from the Doctor that a lot of that was genuine. It was just, but it still was part of the plan. He was just having to, if what was the entity, the multi-body or multi-conscious.
I just said that one too.
Yes, you did.
Chakra.
Sorry, I'm terrible. Chakra. If it wasn't for the chakra helping him out, that would have completely overwhelmed the Matrix or whatever would have completely overwhelmed him. So
yeah,
but I like the fact that maybe because we've listened to the Eighth Doctor ones like Minuet in Hell, if it had been the Eighth Doctor, it's almost like he would have been zapped and mindless for most of it, and then come out of it and
yeah.
fixed it. Versus because it's a Seventh Doctor one, I'm attributing it to he's scheming again already. So.
Although this fits, considering Time in the Rani, it fits that MO more than the scheming MO.
Yeah.
At this point in the Doctor's
It does.
run.
But I like the fact, I like the idea of the plot. I like that this is let's drop the weight that these are all Time Lords that are trying to put TARDISes into living. It's like, okay,
that's a really cool idea.
That's a really cool idea.
Why couldn't we get that sooner?
And that's, I think, maybe part of the problem is so much of the story, despite the once again the great audio production work that Big Finish puts into them with some of the sound effects and the beeps of computer pads being hit that kind of cue into the fact that this is not a normal
and Mel
facility.
Even has the line of, I know this software, but I can't place it.
Right. And
because she knows the TARDIS software.
Even before you wind up with them being outside in space.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are little audio cues that they kind of give you that it's not your standard run-of-the-mill asylum, that he's not locked in Arkham. But yet, so much of it felt like it was, we've got...
It felt like Arkham.
Yeah, it felt like Arkham.
Especially if you've watched season 2 of Gotham.
In your mind's eye, you could feel that there were overhead halogen bulbs and...
Well, they even talk about a Victorian setting.
Yeah.
Whatever reason it was set to.
It's confusing in a way that for being this big top secret, High Council approved mission that these guys are on, that they're dealing with such a strange human configuration of things.
Especially when they have so many aliens already there, too.
Now, I can understand not wanting to own up to, that it's Time Lord. You don't want to come out and tip your hand that early. But it felt like maybe a little too much effort was gone into trying to pull the wool over our eyes, and it made it a little muddled.
To some extent, because, we follow the one guy, Louis, and as... No, Louis is the Time Lord, sorry. Johannes, as we follow him, and he gets introduced and gets the offer, and then Louis comes back, and he has the line of, you haven't aged a day. That automatically sets up the flag of, okay, there's something alien going on here. So you could have
you automatically suspect that time travel's involved as well.
Yeah.
We were gonna come and collect you the day before you die or something. It's like, okay, well, obviously it's time travel because they know when he's going to die, so they can pull him out of that.
They could have easily not had the weird Victorian setting and still had me believe that, and still had the surprise of it being Time Lords down the road. They could have had it more of a spaceship sterile environment sort of thing.
Yeah.
I got the impression, though, that the Victorian setting was kind of camouflaged, because I got the impression that was more of a bring people in, especially if you're dealing with Earthlings or people from the Earth. It was kind of even if it's anybody all the way up to the 21st century, that's a little more of a familiar buffer, getting them used to the fact that what you're just about to dump on them once you come into the facility. So to me, it was kind of like you bring them in. If you walked into a sterile white environment and say we're visited in the 1950s, then suddenly there's this weird, eerie alien feel. But if you take them into what you expect, if you take them into what you expect to be an asylum that may have been around since Victorian times, you kind of ease them in before you kind of drop the bomb on them that we're going to inject a TARDIS into your head and make you a pilot.
Yeah, I guess since they are bringing in a human, that makes sense. That's a good way to retcon it.
I don't know. It was retconning. I kind of presumed that was the writer's intent.
The Kleist has that line of where she almost doesn't understand why. She made it sound like it's always like this, and she doesn't understand why.
I suppose that's true.
Unless it's just a broken chameleon circuit.
That doesn't happen.
That never happened. One thing, I agree with you, Sean. I really like the nuggets in this story, and it's got some really cool ideas that I wish were better realized. In addition to the needing to get kind of things moving a little quicker and trying to the wool over our heads. I think Kleist and Louis were a bit too ready to give up on this whole adventure.
Yeah.
Because it felt like there was no climax. This guy, the guy who actually gets the TARDIS and it works, gets in the Doctor's TARDIS, and they're like, "Oh no, stop! Oh wait, okay," and then it's over. It felt like there was not a big climax. Reagan tries to fight and then eventually just kind of gives up. There's no... They talk about the Time Lords coming in, the kind of swipe. You almost get a War Games feel to it, but then they don't fully show up, and it just feels kind of like, yeah, okay, we're going to give them a TARDIS and we're going to let them be happy and do their own thing.
Maybe I misunderstood. I got the impression that they were leaving the Time Lords with the idea that it was a failed experiment and everything had fallen apart, and that the doctor guy, the pilot, and the cab driver, and the professor, I guess
Kleist, yeah.
Yeah, Kleist, were going to go off and kind of seclude themselves so that nobody knew that they had a successful experiment, was the impression I got. And that the Time Lords had nothing to do with that. The Doctor had kind of set it up so that they would go off and everybody would just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, you're right about that.
But that's, I think, part of the problem is...
There was no obstacle for them to overcome.
Okay.
Going through all of this, and let's be honest, this is a horrific experiment. It's a cool one, but the idea that we're going to dump a TARDIS matrix into your brain and see if you burn out or not, that's a pretty horrifying...
And they were having...
And they were,
out, yeah.
Which, again, played back into the whole asylum part of it. You needed to have... I don't want to say a better class of villain, but somebody that you could definitively point to and go, this is your fault. But that person gets away at the end, I think that relatively scot-free.
And doesn't really put up a fight.
The Doctor does do that, though. He does point to the fact that the Time Lords ultimately are the real villains here, but he's also not surprised by it because he knows his people. He knows what they've been doing. He knows what they've become. I think the problem here is when you set the Time Lords up as a villain, you can't have ramifications for the villain, for the Time Lords. You have to accept what we've done in the past, that this is one more step towards Gallifrey being just ultimately bad eventually. Right. And so I think probably maybe McKenty painted himself into a corner in this aspect. So I think I'm agreeing with what you guys are saying, but maybe I'm a little more forgiving. Once you tell me that the Time Lords are the villain, then I know there can be no repercussions for the Time Lords.
Well, but there's always repercussions on the individual. Like, look at in the Five Doctors.
You couldn't
that individual.
You couldn't in this situation because they were working for the Time Lords, whereas Rassilon in the Five Doctors is working, or not Rassilon. Perusa is working for himself.
Yeah, that's okay.
The Master is working for himself. But the Ronnie is working for herself.
That's the
so anytime
solution.
there's a Time Lord,
that's how you fix it.
That's how you fix it.
Okay. But that being said, then suddenly I can see if you do that, then McEntee has done something that's been done several times before. So at least this is an attempt to do something different.
Well, but that's just it. You either set it up so that the CIA is doing this, and we've got High Council approval, and then after you fight them, then it turns out that you don't, and the High Council steps in and says, no, we didn't authorize this,
or they took it too. They authorized one thing and they took it too far. Something
along those lines, so that you've got a definitive villain for the Doctor to fight against, or you can still set it up and still have the Time Lord threat just be the bad guys. That's fine. But there still needed to be a bad guy.
Like Human Resources, where we have the Time Lords working in conjunction because they think they're intervening, but being as responsible as the guy that's actually doing this process. You've now put the onus on that one individual, even though the Time Lords are involved. I understand.
Give them somebody to target, and I'm fine with the fact that the Time Lords are the ones that are ultimately responsible for all this. I like the idea that it kind of carries on with Kleist's rationale from the two Doctors, that they sent the Doctor to go stop Dastari. Was that his name? Because he was meddling with time travel and not doing it very well. Right. So they've got an established history of going, I don't know about this. So this is kind of the next logical progression of that. I think that's great, but I still think there needed to be, either give him a little bit more of a security force to, fight against.
Had it been a unified force of the three of them against the Doctor, Mel, and the cabbie, I think it would have been a little bit better. I like that Kleist had reservations and had started to turn. I think Lewis turned way too quickly, and they planted the seeds, but it left one Time Lord to fight against everybody else, and that just doesn't work.
Right.
Without upping the power of that one Time Lord.
Yeah,
if it was Rassilon,
if it had been the three of them saying, no, we got to keep doing this, then the Time Lords could have been behind it with their blessing, and the Doctor thinking all of it needs to stop, and they don't want to.
Yeah. I also, though, get the impression that the Time Lords this group was working independently of Time Lord knowledge. The Time Lords knew what was going on, but didn't know maybe the device or the means or the ramifications. Or they were kind of, you do your thing over there, and we'll just ignore you, kind of thing. And so I guess I still come down on the fact that I appreciate the way that this story played out, because I didn't want to see the same retread of a story that we've got one baddie to put this all on. I think that maybe that's why I'm a little more forgiving of the direction this went, because it was more of a painting a character of the Time Lords, of who they have become, rather than have that same old cookie cutter villain. Even though the Time Lords are involved, we've got the human resources is a good example, even though they're indirectly involved. It's you still have that cookie cutter. Okay, here's your bad guy. He's doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and the Time Lords are just letting it happen. To me, that would have been almost a retread. Whereas the way that they did it, I still don't think it was a strong ending, and I agree with everything you guys are saying. Had we done that, then it would have felt like old hat, and I may not have liked the story, the conclusion of the story, as well as I end up liking.
One thing this story does really well is it foreshadows the Time War really well. It really helps paint that road because they even talk about the Daleks having the time travel ability. It really helps. It's a great paving stone on that path.
Retroactively,
yeah. And because this did come out after.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. This particular one was no. This was before that.
2005.
June it was
2005.
Okay. Well, and it was at that point that I think, at least I've read, that Big Finish did kind of.
They had some ideas.
Well, they what they did is they tried to steer the boat so that it did not directly lead into the events of the Time War, but give you little bits and pieces of why the Gallifrey had
but in 2005 the show had just come back, so we would have only gotten at the time this was released in June, it would have only been, if anything, fragmentary information that there was something bad that happened.
Well, no, at that point we knew there was a time war.
And
we knew that the Gallifreyans were involved. We didn't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I think what you could do from that advantage is you could use the history of the Time Lords that we know from Deadly Assassin, from Five Doctors, from all of that that we saw, Invasion of Time, all of that material, and start to formulate what had happened. And I think they maybe rolled the dice and got it right, is what they did here. It's probably.
I wonder if you could flip it where you can keep it as is, and the Time Lords are the bad guys. There's just nobody to point to. But then when Kleist gives up and it becomes more of a they made me do it, and if you played up that angle a little bit more, I wonder if the Professor then becomes more of a sympathetic character, and it does you can actually put the dialogue in there about the Time Lords are the the real bad guys here, and what are we going to do about it? Well, what if we don't let them know that everything's in, really kind of box that in? I wonder if that would have...
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that...
It's ambiguous enough that I don't like it, but I don't know that I want it.
I just
paint by numbers.
I think I'm fine with it, because what it does is it goes further to illustrate the arrogance and smugness of the Time Lords. And I think that's what they were trying to do here.
Yeah.
And I think they were also taking their cues, and we don't know much about this, but I think they were also taking their cues from the Virgin New Adventures that came before that in the Seventh Doctor era, knowing that that era was already framing the Time Lords as bad guys. I mean, they were taking cues from the series that was already starting down that road, and they took it a lot further. And I think that maybe that's where Big Finish was taking their cues, because it's obvious that Big Finish, at least holds some of that continuity dear, because they go to great efforts, and they've even made 2 sidestep stories, but they go to great efforts to make little references back to things that happened in the Seventh Doctor era there as well. So, I didn't give it any sort of dun 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 rating at the beginning, but it was a fine story. I was okay with it. I think heads and above the performance of Sylvester McCoy, especially when he's trying to fight off the invasion of his brain, essentially. I thought that the performance was magnificent. I had chills just listening to him, because knowing that he was convincing me, whether he was faking it or not, was convincing me that there was something really drastically wrong with the Doctor. And that performance sold that. And I think that it's funny, because for as tainted as I am for the Seventh Doctor Mel stories, because they're such bad stories, I've never hated Mel as a character. She's never been a favorite of mine. I've been vocal about, I just didn't care much for her. But as I hear her more in the Big Finish audios, I think this was a way for Bonnie Langford to get some redemption for what they did with her character in the series.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Because I continue to hear these, and going so far as giving her she's a computer programmer in the series, but we do very little with that element that could have made her a strong character. We tend to do that now in Big Finish. We tend to give her things to do, reasons to be, less of the companion that's just there to ask questions for exhibition, and more of a hands-on, something to do companion. And the greatest evidence of this is in that first story, where she's having to figure out where the Doctor went. I mean, she's on her own there for the first 2 episodes.
This is a great Mel story.
This is where the story shines the most, I think, is its portrayal of Mel and Bonnie Langford's very capable handling of the material. Mel's she's running around doing the detective bit with they give her a companion so that she can explain things. She's very knowledgeable when it comes to aliens, this is old hat. She takes the bull by the horns, and she's helping to guide that through, and she's dealing with both of them. She's dealing with the alien presence and being, we're human, it's okay, we're not here to hurt you, and she's comforting the cabbie, going, oh yeah, don't worry about it, I got this. And she goes through all that. She gets a computer moment. I mean, she figures everything out. She rescues the Doctor. She goes through, and it's such a strong performance for her. And yeah, everything about it in this one really worked on that level. And I'm kind of with you. Mel was never. Maybe it was because the stories that she was unfortunately saddled with were of a lower quality from the writing. Maybe it was just saddling with that era and the kind of the chaos of the 6th outgoing and the 7th incoming, and then because we've always said that it's the 7th Doctor and Ace. That's the companion pairing for that particular timeline, and I think it's unfair because it's the 6th Doctor and Perry, but Mel's kind of sandwiched somewhere in between these, and she's present for the regeneration, even though strangely not. So it's just kind of, where does Mel wind up? Where do you fit her into this whole thing? Coupled with the screaming, which, God love the pipes on Bonnie Langford. I had forgotten until we rewatched Time in the Ronnie this week. It was like, oh yeah, there was a lot of that during this time.
Veros too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of screaming.
Or not.
No, she's not in that one.
Not Veros, but
Vervoid. Sorry, Terror of the Vervoids.
And that's
I knew
one
it had to
thing.
be.
That's one thing. Big Finish does well is doesn't make her scream as often.
Yeah. Well, it shatter all of the audio equipment
and our eardrums.
They probably tested it once, and there's some poor deaf guy now who's he had the headphones on, is like, can't do that again. Sorry, Bob. But,
and I thought the supporting cast did a fine job. Again, I think what's her name was a little too forceful and militant. But
here's a nice little tidbit. Kleist was played by Oh, crap, I lost her name.
Jeannie Linden?
Jeannie Linden was Barbara in the Dalek movies.
The Doctor Who and the Daleks.
Yeah. Ian's girlfriend and Susan's elder sister.
Whole other timeline there.
That's kind of a neat
Whole other
Easter egg.
We joked about it off mic, but with the title that I don't think any of us were enamored with Unregenerate, the apparently an early title was going to be Mark IV.
Mark IV or Mark 40?
I thought it was Mark 40. It's Mark IV according to Wiki.
Oh, well, I don't think that would have been as telling as we thought when you said
Yeah.
Mark 40, when you told us Mark 40.
I thought it was Type 40. I don't know what Mark IV is now.
Well, Mark IV is usually the newest upgrade or version of something. Or a Mark is usually like the K9 units are always
Yeah.
Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4.
But Mark IV doesn't still tie into anything.
No.
Maybe because it'd be a Mark IV of a new species?
I completely read it wrong. I think Type 40 would have been the best possible title, but unfortunately probably would have spoiled it.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, the Type 40 is archaic at this point, so
maybe
that wouldn't
Mark-
work either.
Well, maybe Mark.
I don't
that's
know.
just
There's no
it.
good title
Well,
for this one.
Maybe Mark IV would have indicated the progression of the TARDIS. I mean, the original TARDISes would have been the Mark I versions. They would have had, Mark I Type 40, Mark I Type, just whatever delineation within the Mark. And then Mark II was the next step of upgrade for TARDISes. Mark III would have been the next upgrade. And so perhaps now they thought, well, we're on Mark IV, and this is the next progression of the evolution of the TARDIS. Maybe that's where they were going with that.
Sure.
Hard telling.
Mark IV K9 always seems to be the same software. Not much of an upgrade.
Same software, new case.
Pretty much.
Oh, see, now it works.
There you go.
Same software, new
Same
case.
software, new case. Anything else about this one that we want to touch on before we close this show?
Wasn't bad.
No.
Had some issues, but I enjoyed it.
It had Sylvester in it, so.
How far you've come.
All right. Well, of course, you can help support this podcast by becoming a Patreon supporter. If you're already a supporter, we thank you so much for being one. If you're not, you can support us by going to a link on our webpage, travelingthevortex.com. Give any amount that you can. All of that money goes directly back into the show, every last bit of it. And then there are some sponsors on the right-hand side of our page. We hope you consider purchasing there. Amazon store, our Spreadshirt shop. And
Hey, you got it.
I think 10th Planet has a 10th Planet Collectibles. We have a link on there. So if you're in the UK and you're purchasing from them, consider going through our website. Portions of those proceeds go back into this program. Anything else that we need to touch on? Let's talk about the schedule.
Real briefly.
Kind of did that out of order, didn't I?
We like to change it up.
We don't want to be stagnant.
Yeah. Schedule next week, or schedule.
This is the Mark IV version of it.
Yeah, well, you know what's the Mark IV? I'm even going to say schedule. This is the Americanized
if
version
I
of
can
it.
do that.
That's how different this one is. Midnight is our Friday Night Who offering for next week, or this week, coming up on the 11th of June. The fabulous David Tennant vehicle from the fourth series. And Midnight will be at midnight, so pop it in and follow along, which will set us up nicely for Beyond the Doctor. It's time for that discussion to come back, and we are up to David Tennant in our look at what other roles that the Doctors have played.
This will be our 10th Beyond the Doctor.
Our 10th Beyond...
Over the course of 2 years.
It'll be our 11th.
11th, yeah. We slipped the War Doctor in there, didn't we?
12th, technically, because we also did... If you count with Nail and I as a twofer.
But it was only one
still
episode.
only our 12th. Still only our 11th.
Okay, how many regenerations are there? We're going to be watching...
8 was 8.1 and 8.2.
We're going to be watching What We Did on Our Holiday, which is, I presume, a fine film that David Tennant's in.
We hope it's a fine film.
We hope it's a fine film, and we hope he's in it. That's all I can say.
That's the important
His
thing.
name's on the box. That's all I can say.
Pictures on the cover, too.
With Billy Connolly. I didn't realize that until I found the movie this week.
And Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, Rosamund Pike. Which, she's...
I've only seen her in Gone Girl. So.
Yeah, she was in one of the Bond films. She was in
she was?
Die Another Day. I think that was her
I don't
first
think I've
film.
seen that one.
I think it was her first film. That's the one with Halle Berry.
I don't remember that
Madonna. Madonna has a guest appearance as the fencing instructor. Oh, you're gonna do the You're gonna do the theme song for our movie.
You want a cameo?
We'll give you a cameo.
Apparently, she's a voice of Thunderbirds Are Go.
She was believable as the fencing instructor.
She was. She played the fencing instructor perfectly. Yes, yeah. It was,
Madonna was one of the more believable aspects.
I did. You got a good point there.
And I liked that one.
Oh, I did too. Invisible cars and all.
I love the invisible car. That's so cool.
I take that back. I've seen one other Rosamund Pike film, The World's End.
Oh yeah, I forgot she was in
that. Yeah, I forgot she was in it.
Well, there you go. So all the more reasons. So go find a copy of that and join us for what we will be discussing is David Tennant's acting chops next week.
Yeah.
Outside of the Hooniverse. And the following week is The Moon Base, back to the Patrick Troughton era, but for very good reason.
We're not reviewing it, Keith. Sorry.
We've already reviewed.
There
The
might
Moon
be
Base.
some discussion in it.
But episode number 286, the week that we are watching that for Friday Night Who, is kind of all moon or lunar themed. And we've a slight add to the schedule. In addition to the Lethbridge Stewart Moonblink book by Sadie Miller, we will also be reviewing the short story, The Lock-In, by Sarah. I probably should not have given out a name here because I'm going to murder this one.
Keith had it earlier.
Oh, I did. What did I say?
Groenjewin.
Sure.
Kapashaflagen.
So,
we're sorry, Sarah.
We're sorry, Sarah.
my homework is to get Andy to send us a pronouncer of all of the authors that have written anything for the Lethbridge Stewart
I
line.
think Groenwegen.
Because I'm sure we're saying
Groenwegen?
McEntee wrong or McEntee
Groenwegen.
wrong.
Groenwegen.
What Keith said.
Yeah.
And
Groenwegen.
Groenwegen. And I still feel like I'm adding 4 syllables to that aren't there.
There's a lot of E's in it.
As well as the TV comic Moon Landing, which is an old school bit of silly, but we're going to put it in there
first
anyway.
Doctor story that was first published in TV Comics back in the 1960s.
And then the following week we're doing Mask of... Now, how do we decide this one is pronounced?
Andy
actually... I should pull this up. I don't have my Facebook open. Andy actually sent me this is how this is pronounced. Mandragora. At least according to Glenn. I'll have to double check with Andy, make sure you're right. But we're going to be watching that one for Friday Night Who, and then reviewing it the following week on the show. But a little added bonus for you. We haven't done one of these in a while. We're going to do an adversary archive on,
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 on the Mandragora Helix. And not only will we be discussing Mask, but we'll also be discovering Mark of Mandragora, which was a comic and book and short story and something else.
Yes, they were actually originally released in Doctor Who magazine, and we'll give you the specific magazines or issues if you happen to go about them that way. But they were published by Virgin Books as a collection in a graphic novel form, and the particular book is called Mark of Mandragora, which is also the name of the last story in that book. So we're gonna review all of it because there's a little bit of tie-in of the stories that precede the final story.
And I'm excited because I don't believe Mask is one. Either I've never seen it or it's been so long since I've seen it that I don't remember anything about it. So I'm looking forward to this one.
It's fuzzy in my memory, which means I probably haven't seen it since the 1980s. But there is a chance that I either rewatched it really early on in my rediscovery of Doctor Who or have seen bits and pieces of it since my rediscovery.
I want to say it's probably one that I owned on VHS and you borrowed. That's
why I can't remember if it was in that batch of videos that I borrowed from you or not.
It's yeah, I know. You look at me like I'm weird. Yes, I owned things that I never watched.
Oh, I know.
He still owns things that he
I
hasn't
still own
watched.
things that I haven't
There's a whole
watched. Lots of
wall
things.
stuff.
I was just buying it because, hey, it's got Doctor Who on it.
Oh, I would have done the same thing. Although I would have watched it, so
Well,
because I am of the three of us here, I'm the only one that has seen your entire VHS collection of Doctor Who. Because I didn't have any of it on VHS.
poor Keith is so left out of this. He never.
I don't even get the chance to have that.
Yeah,
distinction.
well, now he has it all on DVD.
I am going to do a throwback night for Friday Night Who one night. You're going to come over. We're going to hook
You
up
don't
the
have-
VCR.
you don't have
We
any of those
did that.
VHSs anymore.
I'm somewhere. I think I do. Maybe.
Are you
that
sure?
for,
'Cause you went through. You had a
Ice
box.
Warriors.
You had a
Oh, we
box.
did do that Friday Warriors, didn't we?
You had a
Dr.
box
Phil sent
in a
us
corner of stuff that was going to go for sale at one of your moves.
Yeah,
and
I
those
did.
were in there. And I went, should I buy them? It is VHS. Should I buy them? They're VHS. And him and Hod on it. And I think I came down on the fact that, no, I'm not going to buy them because I'll eventually own them all on DVD.
Yeah.
And now there's ones in there that I can't even get on DVD anymore. But anyway.
If only I'd have
Neither
known.
here nor there.
Still couldn't watch it.
Sure you can.
I still have
I've
I've got a
VCR.
VHS. I've got a
I
VCR.
don't have a VCR.
I have kids, and one of my kids was young enough to still be in the tail end of the VHS era when she was very, very, very young. And we still have a lot of VHS tapes that I was eventually going to take to vintage stock, and they quit taking VHS tapes. So
Well,
Wisely. So that's that.
all right. Well, since I did all the other stuff before the schedule, excuse me, we're saying it's schedule now, apparently.
Just this week.
Just this week. Unregenerate. All right, unrecord.
unrecord this podcast.
All right, we're going to unrecord it. Next week we'll be back to normal. All right.
I'm going to unschedule things.
If that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I am Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
Unthanks for listening. Thanks for unlistening.
Very
Ooh.
merry on birthday.
Yeah.
A very merry birthday to you.
To me?
A very merry birthday.
Today is my unbirthday.
It's my unbirthday too.
It
Mine
is.
too.
It is. Very merry unbirthday to me. To you.
A very merry birthday to you. To who? To you. All right, sorry.
Now blow the candles out, my dear, and make your wish come true.
A very merry birthday to
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.